everyone, thank you for checking out this video. You know the drill. Go find a place where you can sit quietly, grab a pen and paper, and write some stuff down, even if it's just doodling, something that keeps you occupied. I really hope that something that is in this message sticks out to you and you write it down to remind yourself. Now's a great time to take ownership of your own faith and your own spiritual growth, because as you've seen, we can't always have church where you can come and be spiritual filled and leave. Sometimes you got to work at it yourself. So be sure to do that. Up next will be the Selah video. Be sure to watch that to help get you in the mindset before this. And by the way, if the Selah video isn't enough, it's perfectly okay to pause this entire video and come back later if you just can't get into the mindset. But use the Selah time, follow the prompts just to help you get yourself mentally prepared, or even go through it several times if you have to. But get yourself mentally prepared. Don't use this video as a way to just skip out doing homework or just to say, I've done it, so I'm good to go. Really set yourself time to take in what is being said. I really hope everyone's doing well. We'll be making announcements soon about when we can continue, and it looks like we're gonna have to change a lot of what we do, and I hope it's exciting things that you guys can be a part of, and I wanna get your guys' perspective at some point on things we can do or how we can do it differently with all this going on, since it's gonna be around for a while. But waiting to hear from you guys and hope to hear from you soon. Hey gang, welcome to my half of the bedroom. I'm okay. I'm not sick or anything. I'm just sad. So yeah, this is my bedroom, and I figured if you guys get to listen in the comfort of your own home, then you know, I should be able to preach in the comfort of my own home. And if you're a little uncomfortable right now, that's okay, because I'm just like any of you. I have all the standard stuff. I got my TP. You got to have that, especially at this time. Got a lava lamp. And this little guy, for those of you who don't know, is Charmander. He's a little fire lizard. Keeps me warm. And yeah, and I mean, I don't have anything weird in here. I have, you know, you stay up late, secretly playing. Got my Game Boy, just like you. Sometimes I have actually two, so I can link up and play against myself, you know. Your best challenge is yourself. Also got a flashlight. It gets scary at night. You know how it is. And of course I have snacks, but don't tell Lauren. She doesn't like that. Oatmeal. Maple and brown sugar. I don't like it. So this is life now. You know how it's like. I am wearing pants though. I mean, there's no point to pajamas because I don't go outside and get dirty, so I just saves a lot of time in the morning. So we are continuing in our Jesus is series, and last week we talked about how Jesus is a savior, and the week before that how Jesus is God. And this week, we're talking about how Jesus is the truth. So I want to start off by showing you guys some headlines, and these are goofy headlines. Let's see if you can catch what's wrong with these headlines. The first one is, homicide victims rarely talk to police. It's true, they don't. It's really hard trying to get answers from them, with them being dead and all. Teen pregnancy rate drops after age 25. Just so you know, once you become 20, your chances of becoming pregnant as a teen drop dramatically. It's science doesn't understand it. Here's another one. A one-armed man applauds the kindness of strangers. A one-armed man applauds. I know some of you are freaks and you go, I can do that. I don't know how you do that, but you're weird. Students cook and serve grandparents. If you don't see what's wrong with that sentence, it's probably because you're not doing well in English class. So we live in a day and age where there's this thing called fake news. You've probably heard of it. It's fake. Not really. But there's a lot of headlines and whatnot, and people call them fake news. You might see your parents arguing about it. You might hear classmates arguing. Who knows? You've probably been part of the argument. But the truth is a hard thing to understand these days, because as we see with these previous headlines, there's nothing untruthful about them. Dead people don't talk to police. But as you and I know, that there's another side to it, that it is also not true. Today, there's just a big issue with trying to figure out the truth. You might be struggling with understanding what truth is these days. In fact, we're all encouraged to live our truth. And what does that even mean? Most people think living your truth just means just say how you're feeling, just tell your story. But as you and I both know, your story is not all there is. And you definitely know what the struggle is with the truth today. You probably had one of these situations before, and if you haven't, you probably will, where someone was hurt by something you said or did. You hurt someone, and you feel very strongly that you didn't intend to hurt them, even though to them it seems truthful that you did want to hurt them. And so what you try to do is you try to beat them to the punch. You try to explain yourself to them and try to set the truth straight in a way, and let them know that that's not what happened, and that you didn't want to hurt them. So in other words, you're trying to reveal the truth to them, that you do care about them and you never intend to hurt them, so therefore they shouldn't feel harmed. But you and I have both probably been in situations where even though you've done that, it doesn't work and doesn't make any better. In fact, the other person gets upset, and what you have to hear is their side of the story about how you did hurt them. The truth is a difficult thing these days, and in fact, it's not just a difficult thing these days. Truth has been a problem even since biblical times. Not so much as does it exist, but how do we know it exists, and how do we figure out what the truth is? Before Jesus was crucified, he was brought to Pilate to be judged, and Pilate asked him if the accusations made against him were true, because if they are, then Pilate can okay him getting crucified. And Jesus responded saying that he came to proclaim the truth, and that those who belong to the truth would listen to him. Pilate didn't want to find out what all this truth was, and he just kind of said, well, what is the truth? What is truth anyways? And that's exactly what we ask today, is like, what is the truth? It seems like everywhere we look, we find one piece of truth, but there's always more, or there's some piece of truth being ignored, or I have my story, but it doesn't seem to matter, or things would matter more if people understood my story. So what is truth? That's something they've been asking even from biblical times. And if you've been around church long enough, you'll probably hear this weird phrase being said that Jesus is the truth. It probably gets said all the time. Now, when you probably first heard it, you're like, yes, that's a good thing, that's a great thing. But after a while, it gets repeated, Jesus is the truth, Jesus is the truth, Jesus is the truth. And after a while, it kind of gets a little confusing, because as we know, truth is facts, it's not a person. So how is Jesus the truth? And also, Jesus being the truth doesn't answer everything. Like, what does Jesus being the truth have to do with me hurting someone or someone hurting me, or whether or not I brushed my teeth? What does Jesus being the truth has to do with whether or not it was true I brushed my teeth or not? The biggest reason why we say Jesus is the truth is because, well, he said so himself. In a long conversation he had with his disciples recorded in John's Gospel in chapter 18, he says to his disciples, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you had known me, you would know my Father as well. From now on, you do know him and you have seen him. But let's reread that again, what Jesus just said, because he's claiming to be multiple things here and not just the truth. He's saying that he is the way, the truth, and the life. The truth that Jesus is claiming to be is life itself, and how it was meant to be, and how we are to live. That is the truth that he is claiming to be. And as we read through the Gospels, we see Jesus teaching things, true things. It's the truth that it means this, or that you should do these things. But at the end of the day, all it makes is more rules. Now, what Jesus means by this is he's not coming to tell us, here's a list of things you need to do right, or here's a list of things you shouldn't do in order to have a good life or to do the right things. He's actually saying, I am that example. I am that life. In TV shows and movies where there's a court scene, there's most likely going to be a part where somebody who's testifying, telling their truth, is going to have to take an oath. And in the oath, you've probably heard it before, it's that they will solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Now, it seems a little bit unnecessary to say, like, hey, are you going to tell the truth? But next time you're talking to one of your friends and you tell them to tell you the truth, tell them to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And you'll notice that it gets a little more tense afterwards, because it's not just asking someone to tell the truth. You're being very, very specific about what the truth is. Because let's face it, you can tell the truth. You can also leave parts of the truth out. When I was 7 years old, our house was the only one that had a standing basketball hoop all the time. So whenever we played outside, most of the time we played basketball at our house. And then the driveway wasn't very big. And so we couldn't play 2-on-2 basketball. We had to play different kinds of games where more people can join. There's no way to maneuver well. So games that we often ended up playing were horse or 21. Now, 21 is a crazy game because you can put as many people as you want in it, and there's 2 basketballs involved, and everybody's moving at a fast pace, which means basketballs are flying everywhere, being passed everywhere, and it's just craziness. Now, my friends Jacob, Joshua, Corey, Garrett, my brothers Jamie and Jared, we would always play 21, and inevitably we get in a fight because we're all competitive. And a couple of times, my friend Joshua would knock me out, which means that he beat me, I'm out of the game, and the game goes on without me. And I typically don't like that. And Joshua also knows it. And I don't like it because I'm better at sports than Joshua. And Joshua also knows that. And he likes to rub it in my face when a non-athletic person, knocks me out, which I don't particularly like. So later in the game, or in a different game, at some point an accident will happen where I need to pass the ball to Joshua, and when I go to pass the ball to Joshua, he wasn't quite looking, and he wasn't ready to get the ball. And I know he wasn't ready to get the ball because, unless he has eyes in the back of his head, he probably wasn't going to see it. And if he did have eyes in the back of his head, they're probably smashed by how hard I passed the ball. And so the ball would hit Joshua in the back of the head, and he would cry and accuse me of doing it on purpose, but I was just only passing the ball to him like I was supposed to. And so inevitably the moms come out. Now his mom and my mom both know that we all tend to get a little upset anytime we lose, even though nothing wrong has happened. But they also know that we try to make things look like an accident and say it was on accident. And so they do an investigation. They try to figure out what happened. And I tell my truth. And I said, well, we were playing the game, and it's a fast-paced game. And if you're not paying attention, you know, that's your fault. And when I went to go pass the ball, Joshua wasn't looking, and it hit him in the back of the head. I didn't mean to do it, but our moms know better. Now, that was the truth, but it wasn't the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So that's why the whole truth and nothing but the truth really matters. When Jesus says that he's the truth, he's saying that he's the whole truth and nothing but the truth. A living example of what it means to how to live life successfully and as it was meant to be. That's what he means. He's not saying I'm the fact of everything. He's like, I'm the fact of how life was meant to be for you and meant to be for everyone. The truth isn't a list of commandments that you have to follow or live by, that if you do it right, then your life will be successful. In fact, Jesus is saying it's a living thing. It's him. Now, before we finish out today, I do want to look at one more passage of what it means that Jesus is the truth. And Jesus tells us in John 8, he says, if you continue in my word, you are truly my disciples. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. You've probably heard that in a VeggieTales video. Most of the time when people say that video, it means they're talking about like hiding something, and if you just reveal it, then everything will be let go, and everything will be better. But as you know, you've probably told the truth sometimes, and it seems to only get you in more trouble. And so the whole truth setting you free thing is just kind of like, well, what? I don't know about that. The truth setting me free doesn't seem to be truthful. But again, we're not talking about stating facts. We're talking about following the truth. When Jesus says the truth will set you free, he's referring to himself. Instead of following a bunch of different rules and also having to try to remember all the rules and commandments and guides that you should follow to live life well, you're just following him. And the great thing about Jesus is he's not incomplete. So our encouragement as Christians is not to just memorize things that are the truth. It's to follow the truth. That's why we keep having Sundays where we come back and we listen to more and more sermons. It's because we're trying to get more and more acquainted with who Jesus is, to get to know him more. And that's why we challenge you guys, isn't to just tell us to go follow somebody because it's cool, but because you need to be connected with the truth. That way your life is whole and it is complete, and you keep following him and you keep looking at his life, you keep looking at his words, and you allow him to speak truth into your life.